Well, this is different. Y'all come on, go to work with me. Got to grab it when I can, right? How's everybody doing? It's a Monday morning, and I'm working. But I wanted to shoot a video because I just hadn't had a chance really in a while. And of course, we haven't talked since the speech. I've had some people talking to me saying, man, you need to shoot a video about the speech. I said, yeah, I got to get to it. So I'm late, but here we go. I'm actually in between stops this Monday morning. It's about 6 in the morning. The time change got me yesterday. Here in America, we had to spring forward yesterday, and I had my clock. I used my phone for my alarm clock, and I had it set. It just didn't go off. I think the time, I had it set for 2:30 a.m. I think that's when the time changed, but whatever the case, I was an hour late getting up, but it's all good. I've just left a Walmart. I'm headed to another Walmart, and then I'm going to unhitch, rehitch, and take off. I'm going to go another little 2-night camping excursion, so that'll be fun. I'll make some video and take you with me on that. All right, let's get to that speech, because I know there's a lot more things that are current going on, but I haven't had a chance to talk about this speech. I had an idea that I was going to sit in my little studio and make a state of the channel speech, and while I did it, have Marina heckle me, throw cotton balls at me, and boo and hiss, but she didn't want to do that. She said, really? I said, dumb idea? She said, yeah. So much for that. What a display, right? This was not a quote-unquote State of the Union speech. It was just a speech that Trump decided to give to a joint session of Congress, which I suppose is, I don't know if it's his prerogative. I know that technically he has to have an invitation from the Speaker of the House, but of course that's just a mere formality, at least in this case. So he came to the well of the House and began to give his speech. And if you saw this debacle, you already know what I'm talking about. It didn't matter what Trump had to say, folks. On the Democratic side of the House, these people, they are petulant children. They are immature. They are evil. I think they've been caught with their hand in a cookie jar. More about that in a minute. Everything Trump said, they had some manner of protest for it. Some of them were holding signs. Some of them had color-coordinated clothes. And then, of course, there's good old Al Green. Al Green, the congressman from Texas, who interrupted Trump's speech, standing on the floor and waving his cane at Donald Trump, accusing him of all manner of things, among them cutting Medicaid, which is a lie. But of course, when did the truth ever matter to a Democrat or those who vote for them? You can say anything. Your constituents will believe you. Al Green is a leftist lunatic, but he is of his people. I think he's from the Houston area, if I'm not mistaken. These people vote for him, folks. That's where he comes from. That's the same place Hank Johnson comes from, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. These people vote for them, and they are of their people. They represent their people. So Mike Johnson had to ultimately summon the sergeant at arms to have Al Green removed from the chamber. And the next day, of course, the House censured Al Green, as you may know. It doesn't mean anything. There was a time in America when to be censured did mean something. But these people have no shame. They almost revel in a censorship. He loved the attention. He certainly wasn't apologetic. He certainly never said, you know, my behavior was out of line and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. You were never going to hear that from Al Green. And after the vote to censure Al Green, what did the Democrats do? They all joined hands in the House and they started singing, "We shall overcome." They're Pavlovian. They're so predictable. We shall overcome. And I'm looking at this, asking the question, you shall overcome what? What exactly are you trying to overcome? Al Green, who misbehaved, lost all decorum and all respect, not only for the House and for the president, but for himself, makes a complete ass out of himself on the floor of the House. Of course, he's on camera and he knows it. It was all pre-planned. This wasn't spur of the moment. But there's no shame. So they all join hands and sing, "We shall overcome." What? You shall overcome what? What are you trying to overcome? You shall overcome what? You shall overcome the House rules? Is that what you're talking about? Or is this some tired, old, worn out relic from the 60s that you just trot out every time that you don't get your way? You shall overcome. I wish I thought of this when I was a kid. Every time I didn't get my way, I should have started singing, "We shall overcome." Maybe it would have worked. I don't know. These people are so predictable. We shall overcome. What are you trying to overcome? The bottom line is this. You got roughly half of the House of Representatives who loathe Donald Trump. It did not matter what he said. I'm telling you, Donald Trump could have announced he just discovered the cure for cancer during that speech, and they would have sat on their hands. They wouldn't have stood up. They wouldn't have applauded. He could have announced, we just found a surplus of trillions of dollars, and we're going to cut a check for $1 million to every single American, and they would have just sat on their hands. It doesn't matter. They hate Donald Trump. And I have often said, I coined a little phrase. I came up with this on my own. Hatred blinds objectivity. Hatred obscures objectivity. When you hate someone as much as these people hate Donald Trump, they have Trump derangement syndrome, you can't be objective. You can't make an objective judgment about anything when you're so blinded by hatred. I have fair criticisms of Donald Trump, and I believe my criticisms are valid, and I'm happy to voice them. But I don't hate Donald Trump, folks. When I think he's right, I praise him, and I will applaud him. I'll stand and applaud him. When I think he's wrong, I will say, I believe he's wrong about this. I'll say it with no malice, no hatred, no anger, maybe no anger. I can just objectively say, I believe Trump is wrong about this without any venom associated with my comment, without acting like a child who isn't getting his way. He's pitching a fit like Al Green in the middle of the grocery store because his mama won't get him what he wants. That's Al Green. That's the Democratic Party. The people who sit on their hands when Donald Trump introduces a child who has been battling brain cancer. Trump acknowledges this brave young man, and the Democrats just sit on their hands. They don't stand up. They don't applaud. Can you believe it? Because they hate Donald Trump. It's just that simple. It's just, The Democratic Party is demonic. It is hopeless. They do not deserve anybody's vote, anybody's support. They're pathetic. But I've got an idea, folks. I wish I could bend the president's ear and tell him what my idea is for him, because I think it's a darn good idea. I believe that Donald Trump would be well served to call Mike Johnson a little ringy-dingy-ding and say, hey, Mike, you know that speech I gave in the House the other night, the joint session speech? I'm going to be doing that every 2 months until further notice. That's what I believe Trump should do. Just keep going back. Every 2 months, just keep going back and give a speech before a joint session of Congress. Just keep doing it. Why? Because, folks, the bright lights need to stay on these pathetic, immature Democrats, evil Democrats. Keep the spotlight on them. Keep the spotlight on the Al Greens of the world. Go down there again in 2 more months. Let's see who pitches a fit this time. Keep doing it, Democrats. Keep going. These people have no strategy for winning whatsoever. They have no plan. Their whole political philosophy is to oppose Donald Trump. That's it. That's all they've got. They are politically and philosophically bankrupt. They've got nothing to offer. Now, I noticed over the weekend that Charlie Kirk, a lot of you know about Charlie Kirk. He's a pretty good guy. I don't agree with him about everything, but he's got a good podcast. And Charlie Kirk did a podcast the other day with Governor Gavin Newsom of California. I don't know if you heard about this or not. You don't see too many Democrats doing long-form interviews. This is the reason why Kamala Harris would not go on Joe Rogan, because she did not want to be exposed any further, which a long-form, wide-ranging interview that could last 2 or 3 hours, that sort of thing would expose her even further, because Kamala Harris is not she's not good in a conversational manner. You can't just sit down and talk to her. She always gave us the word salads. She always gave us the prepared remarks. She always was surrounded by handlers. She was always scripted. She was always saying things that meant nothing just because she had to say something. That was one of the appeals of Donald Trump. He'd sit down and talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime. I saw Rogan saying that somebody was asking him about the interview he did with Donald Trump. He said he was by himself. He had no handlers. He had no agenda. Nobody gave Rogan any instructions. Trump just sat there for 2 or 3 hours and they just had a conversation. Nobody can ever say Donald Trump is not, what's the word I'm looking for? This is transparent. There's a word. Donald Trump is more transparent than any president I have ever seen. He brings the press into the Oval Office, for heaven's sakes, on a regular basis and talks to them. You would never get that out of Harris. You'd never got that out of Biden. But anyway, it was interesting to me that Newsom went on Charlie Kirk's podcast and did a long-form interview. Now, I have little doubt that Gavin Newsom is planning to run for the presidency in 2028. I think he's out of office in California in 26 next year. all I can say is this, if this is the best the Democrats can offer, they ain't got much. Now, he did all right in the interview with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk even got him to admit, in a manner of speaking, that the Democrats are wrong about men playing in women's sports, for example. But he didn't want to say it. But he finally did kind of admit to it in a general sort of way. But make no mistake about Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is a left-wing radical, the nephew of Nancy Pelosi, who has done his best to even more screw up the great state of California. People have been leaving California in droves because of politicians like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass. Now, forgive my vulgarity, but there's a saying that applies to Gavin Newsom. What's going on here is simply this: they're trying to polish a turd. Forgive me, but that's what's going on. They're trying to make him presentable and electable for the American public. I guess at this time he's the odds-on favorite for the nomination, but never let there be any doubt as to who Gavin Newsom really is, folks. He is a left-wing radical. His rhetoric may change as we get closer to the next election. He may swing as far to the right as he knows how to swing to the right, but he ain't nowhere near even being a moderate of any kind. He's a leftist radical who's more comfortable in the presence of somebody like Bernie the Commie Sanders, certainly, than Donald Trump. All right, I'm hop, skipping, and jumping. I got to go work another store. So thanks for joining me, everybody. I'll be shooting some more videos. My next one will probably be from my campsite, so stay tuned for that. Hey, make sure you comment down below, say hey, and give me a thumbs up on the video if you would. I would appreciate it. Have a great Monday, everybody. This is Triple T. See you soon.